Suki Hotu. Welcome to Buddhist Mahavihara's Facebook page this evening. Today's Dhamma sharing session is on a very interesting topic. It is about the research and the wisdom of life. To share his thoughts on this topic, I would like to welcome Professor Gomika Udugamasooriya from the United States to join us in the studio. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening.
I think it's early morning for you there.
Yes, it's early morning.
So I will share a little introduction about Professor for everyone. Professor Gomika Udugamasooriya obtained his Bachelor of Science in Chemistry in the year 1999 from University of Colombo, Sri Lanka, and his PhD in the year 2006 from Wayne State University in Michigan. Then he completed a postdoctoral fellowship at University of Texas, Southern Western Medical Center, and joined the faculty at the same university in 2009. In 2014, he moved to University of Houston and MD Anderson Cancer Center, located in Houston, the world's largest medical center, and is involved in cancer research and teaching medicinal chemistry. Professor Udugamasooriya is directing a multi-million cancer research program, and he has also published over 100 research articles, abstracts, and has also given over 40 invited seminars in the US and the worldwide. And he also has about 8 patents and is an editorial member and a reviewer of many international scientific journals. Although he is trained and has a career in Western medical research, Dr. Udugamasooriya is an artist, a philosopher, and a practicing Buddhist. He is actively engaged in conducting seminars and workshops worldwide on cancer prevention and research, highlighting the values of holistic medical approaches that include developing good eating habits, building psychological strengths, practicing medication, positive thinking, and in addition to conventional cancer treatments. Now I would like to hand over the studio to Dr. Udugamasooriya.
Good afternoon to you all in Malaysia, and also good morning or good evening to everyone in other places throughout the world. I want to thank Malaysian Buddhist Vihara for inviting me to give this talk today. The title of the talk is Research and the Wisdom of Life. So I am a researcher. I am trained as the Western medical research. So when we hear the word research, it always comes to our mind about, you know, the laboratories, chemicals, and those type of picture. But today I'm going to show you how this research can be used to understand myself, yourself, within us, how we can do research. So that's very, very important thing, and that's what actually Buddha told us to do. And most of the Buddhist philosophy is based on that, researching about yourself. We know a lot of things, the philosophy and a lot of other things about the Buddhism, but I don't think we spend a lot of time on really practically getting into research about ourselves. So that is what I'm going to talk to you today. And again, I am a researcher, so I have actually a lot of scientific and research slides at the beginning. But latter part of my talk, I will connect them to the philosophy of Buddhism and how these research tools can be applied to research about myself. So let's begin with this picture, and I'm going to set the tone of my whole talk using this picture. So this is a picture showing very long back, the Stone Age. And this man was saying, I was just rubbing sticks together for fun. And all of a sudden, fire came out. For the first time, the mankind know about the fire. And he is saying, I didn't realize I was doing basic research. So what is the take-home point of this slide? So this person was doing something, just day-to-day thing, and then all of a sudden something new came out, and he was intelligent enough to identify that is something new. I need to follow this. If we didn't think about it that way, if we didn't question it, and if we didn't try to further investigate that, we wouldn't have found fire, right? So that's what I'm trying to tell you today. Although we know certain things and we do day-to-day things without really paying attention, without consciousness. So, but if we stop for a second and start doing and start questioning, that's actually called research, right? Okay, so that's what I'm going to tell you today. And again, at the beginning, you will see a lot of scientific slides, but stay tuned with me. I know this is at the beginning, it's not going to be like a normal Dhamma talk you heard, but latter part of my talk, I will directly getting into those areas. Okay, so I'm going to talk about research, right? This is the biggest question that a researcher always asks. Why? So the researcher is always curious, and he or she want to find out whatever around us, and always want to investigate. So start with the question, why? So remember that. So if we take about conventional research, now conventional research, we always get this picture. So what we see here is, again, like I said, laboratories, reagents, chemicals, those type of picture comes to our mind about research. So let's start from there. So this is actually, as I said, I am a researcher. So this is my laboratories, instruments. So I'm working on lead compounds for cancer. So these are actually drug lead or drug candidate developments. I want to emphasize that I have not found a cancer drug. There are some misleading posts going around in the Facebook saying I found a cancer drug. It's not correct, but I have drug candidates developed in my lab, patented compounds that can become a drug in the future. So they are, what we are doing is we are validating them in various different systems, going through this long drug discovery path that I explained in my previous talk. So that is what we are doing. So I'm not going to talk about that today. So if we do research, there are several basic components of a research project. So let's understand what are those steps. So first of all, like I said, if we want to investigate something, we always ask the question. We ask a scientific question, and then we come up with a hypothesis. Okay, based on the current knowledge, and this may be like that. So we think about a hypothesis, and then we gather the materials and methods, and then we acquire data, we observe things and acquire data, results, and then discuss about that, and then come to a conclusion. So in order to complete a proper research project, we need to go through all these components carefully. So please keep this in mind throughout my talk. I'll bring these steps when we talk about research, okay? So let's take an example. So this is a small research project done by actually my daughter about plant growth. So her question was, why plants grow well in our backyard than on the beach or mud? That was the question. That's what she wanted to investigate. So she came up with a hypothesis. That was, I think, that the soil mixture is better than a single soil type. That was a hypothesis. So what are the materials and methods? She took four plants. They are all same, and they was seeded in four different soil types. Actually, three different soil types individually, and then the last one was the mixture. And then she measured the height of these plants. After about 2 weeks, she found that the plant that was grown on the soil mixture was growing very good. That's the height is higher compared to the other two. So she looked at this data and also look at the other information, and then she come to a conclusion that yes, soil mixture is better than a single soil type for plant growth. Let's take another example about natural food that I also talk about in my last talk. So the question is, we can ask, why do we need to eat natural food? Okay, so we can come up with a hypothesis. Okay, natural food will help us grow, and also processed food will bring some diseases, right? So there are lots of research done, not only one project. So the basic thing is to compare processed food versus natural food. There are a lot of analysis done, a lot of work done on this area. And then what we find is natural food really helpful, but at the same time, processed food has a lot of chemicals, bad things, and also it's not good that for the health. And we find those data. And then we discuss this using all the information around and also the new information we found. And we come to a conclusion, yes, natural food is better than processed food for our health. Okay. Let's take a third example, which is a little bit of a deeper and very highly scientific. So the question is, can we, in cancer drug discovery, so we can ask a question about, can we starve the tumors to treat cancer? So the hypothesis is we try to stop blood supply into the cancer and then starve the tumor. Again, there are a lot of work done on this area. I'm not talking about one project, just to give an example. And the researchers have found there are many drugs and drug leads there. So one of them is this antibody Avastin. And after doing research in the laboratories, mice, and also human clinical trials, what they found was this antibody can actually stop this blood vessel formation and therefore starve the tumors. So this is the data, and also people find this is not toxic. So there are all the good things are there. When I say not toxic, the main toxics, but there are side effects. So after that, they come to a conclusion, yes, this antibody can actually block the blood vessel formation. Therefore, it can be used as a treatment for cancer. So this is one of the drugs used in the cancer today. So yeah, we also actually have found some of the compounds on this area. I'm just very briefly showing. And also we showed that it also blocked the blood vessel formation and also stopped the tumor growth and in animals as well. So this is still a drug candidate, not a drug. So it's moving in the further research. But using the current knowledge, the project, we concluded that yes, this compound can actually block the blood vessel formation, and then further researchers need to validate them in humans. So this is how these research projects are done. Now, I gave about 3 examples about different steps. Now let's look at how we can plan a research project. Now, when we plan a research project, before we acquire data, it's very important to set the positive control and the negative control. So what are these two means? Let's say we are going to measure the size or height of animals in the world. So that then we need to first look at the smallest or shortest animal, which is the negative control, the height of the smallest animal, and also the height of the biggest animal. We need to set this these two things, and then we check the new animals that we are going to test. So this is the new area. This way, by setting up this negative control and positive control, we say, okay, height of this animal is this much, so it's kind of a small animal. So this one has height of this much, therefore it's kind of a big animal. So it's very important to set up this negative and positive control. So if we don't set it up, we end up with this type of situation. If you ask to look at an elephant and say, who is elephant, if you are blindfold, and if you touch this area, that researcher will say it's a rope. Elephant is a rope. And if you touch this area, it will say, he will say it's a wall. So if someone touches the ears, they will say it's like a fan. So if you touch the trunk, they say it's a snake, right? So this is what happens if you do wrong research. That means you have not set up the positive and negative control. You don't know the size of the elephant. Your research is not planned well, so you end up with this type of wrong conclusion. So that is not proper research. Okay. All right. So by doing all this research, we gather knowledge. Now, what do we do with this? Very unfortunately, most of the time we gather this knowledge and we stop there. That's not what we need. And in particular, that is not what Buddha told us to do, right? So anyway, once we gather the knowledge, we need to understand it. And most importantly, process it to achieve the wisdom. So this is the other biggest message I want to give you today. We want to do research, and also we want to do it in the proper way. There's a proper mechanism to do that. And then we can acquire data, and then we need to understand, and then move into achieve the wisdom. So let's take the few examples that I gave you at the beginning. So let's take this plant growth example. So what is the knowledge we gathered? Plants need soil mixture to grow. That's the knowledge. But what is the wisdom we can get from here? It goes beyond that, right? So the wisdom is the balance, right? So if the plant doesn't grow in just sand, just mud, but it needs a mixture. That means that we need a balanced life. We shouldn't go to extremes, right? So these are actually the biggest messages we are getting from Buddhism as well, right? So once we have the knowledge, we need to go to the next level to see the wisdom. Okay, let's take the second example that I gave you about the food. So why do we eat? So yeah, the knowledge is, yeah, the food is need to produce energy and also heat in our body, and also to grow, repair, maintain our body, and also protect from diseases and increase the immune system. So that's the knowledge. So what is the wisdom? We should not eat food because it's tasty, looks good, and it is colorful. My friend is eating that, and it's easy to cook and give. So those are not the ways to do when we deal with food. So we need to understand what are why we eat this food, and just focus on that, and not to go with the other wrong things about the food, then we will fall into trouble. And that's what I discuss a lot, how food can be really important in cancer prevention. Okay. All right. So drug discovery project. So what is the knowledge we gathered? So this antibody, the drug that I took that can block the blood vessel formation, of course, this antibody is being used to treat cancer. These 6 types of cancer can be treated with this antibody. And also, as a knowledge, we know there are some side effects as well. Those are also listed here. That's the knowledge. So what is the wisdom? Yes, so yeah, this is a drug that saves lives, but it is not applicable for every cancer, every patient, every stage of the cancer. And also there are harmful side effects as well. So how do we look at the wisdom of this drug discovery? If we just keep doing wrong things and if we get the cancer because we think there is a drug to treat cancer, but if the cancer is what I get is not belongs to these types, and this drug will be not useful. So we need to have an understanding about beyond what the knowledge what we have. That is wisdom. Okay. So even go further. Basically, there is no common cure for cancer, right? We need to understand all those things. That's the wisdom. So therefore, even go further. We need to take preventive measures, right? So not falling into the trouble because there is no proper exact answer for this problem. So this is how we need to achieve the wisdom. If we don't do the projects, if we don't do the research properly, and also if we don't gather the proper data, and also if we don't go to the achieve the wisdom, so you will fall into this type of a trouble. Okay. All right, so let's move on to talk about a little bit of a not different, but I'm trying to now getting into the real discussion about what I'm going to talk to you today. So, like I said, I'm a researcher, I'm a scientist, so I also have my favorite scientist. So when I do this in person, what I do is I ask everyone in the audience to tell me who is your favorite scientist, and then I'm going to put them into 2 groups based on the name I hear. We cannot do it here. So what I usually hear is the names that are coming, like these people, Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, that type of people, and every name coming in almost always get into the group A. Now you will be curious about what is group B. So I can say my favorite scientist is in the group B. So this is my favorite scientist, Lord Buddha. Actually, the Prince Siddhartha. So when I say this, immediately you will think, okay, I'm a Western researcher, Western scientist, but giving this talk in the Buddhist platform, therefore I'm trying to link anyway to the Buddhism. No, that is not the case. This is truly my favorite researcher or favorite scientist is Prince Siddhartha. I want to prove that, justify that. And that's what I'm going to do in the next few slides. So I have divided these names into 2 groups. So let's first identify what are those groups. So all these shown here have been doing research. Now on the group A, everyone doing research on the outside world. It's the research on outside world. But group B, it's not only Prince Siddhartha, there were many others also doing research about inner self, myself, research about who I am, right? So this is the fundamental difference between these 2 groups. So doing research, the same thing, doing research, right? outside world or about internal, about myself. So this is a very difficult thing to do. If you go deeper into within and try to understand myself, who I am, that's a very difficult thing. And that's what Prince Siddhartha was doing. So that's why it immediately caught my eyes as one of the best researchers we have ever seen. So let's see the other thing. At the beginning, I told you a good researcher always question things. He's asking why. Any new thing, he's asking why. So you can remember I showed a Stone Age person when he saw the fire for the first time. He asked the question, what is this? This is a new thing. And he worked with that and he looked at it, and otherwise the fire wouldn't have found, right? Although it is accidental, it would have been forgotten right away if we move to the next thing. But it didn't happen. The same way, any researcher asks this question very strongly. So let's see whether the Prince Siddhartha also doing that. So let's go through some stories in the Buddhist literature. Now, I think when you see this picture, you immediately identify what is it, right? So Prince Siddhartha was living in a very luxurious life in his palace that was set by his father. And then one day he went out to see the city with his close minister Channa, and this is what he saw. He saw an old man. This was the first sight of 4 sights that he saw. So immediately, when this old man was seen, there were multiple different things could have happened. Okay, he saw this man. All right, yeah, there is some kind of a person. He forget it, and then he moved forward because he is very used to this luxurious life, and he wouldn't have care about this. But it was not the case, right? So he asked this really, really big, important question. The very first question, why? Right? So I will bring the basic components of a research project, asking the question, bringing in a hypothesis and materials and methods, and then collect data, discuss, and come to a conclusion. So he, actually the Prince Siddhartha, completed all these steps right here. So he asked the question why, and he had a hypothesis, right? So what is the hypothesis? So he has seen always young, very nice, beautiful people around him. Again, that was said by his father, right? But as soon as he sees something different person, and also it seems like not like younger one, but beyond that. So he hypothesized that, okay, I may be also falling into this level one day. That was his hypothesis. And then what are the materials and methods? He immediately gathered the information. He started his research immediately. So the first material available to him was Channa. He was around with him. Immediately he asked, why is this? Who is this? So he started gathering information now, gathering data. So Channa was responding, yeah, this is an old man, and this happens to everyone. So now Prince Siddhartha is collecting data. And then, even though in the literature it is not shown, also we have not thought about, although he has seen all young people around in the palace, his father also, although not old as this much, he's also somewhat older, right? Then that data also maybe come into his mind. Okay, there are life forms beyond this beautiful time frame. So that means we may fall into this, we may decay, we may fall into this type of situation one day. So that's how he collect the data. And then maybe on that night, he has been processing that. He has been discussing with himself after talking to Channa. So, and then he concluded that, yes, this is my future. I also fall into this bad picture. So that is the first time a uh, darkness appearing in his beautiful picture of life, right? So again, I don't have time to go through each step. When he next day he saw a sick man, the same thing happens, and then the dead man. In all these times, he asked this question and he brought forward these steps to do the research. And again, I'm not going to go into each one because we don't have time. And also, I want to tell you one other thing. Now, I'm talking about these research steps: question, asking scientific question, put together hypothesis and come up with materials and methods, gather data, and then analyze, discuss about it, and come to a conclusion. Now, you may think I am coming from this Western research area, Western research tools, and try to say Prince Siddhartha was also using that. But if you think about the time frames this has happened, this was introduced to the world by Prince Siddhartha, actually. When he was doing this perfect, proper research project, the exact place that I am sitting in US here would have been a big, thick jungle, right? So in my opinion, this kind of proper scientific research methods, tools have been introduced to the world by Prince Siddhartha by doing this research in this proper manner. That's why he come to proper conclusions on these three first sides. And it doesn't end there, right? We know the story goes forward. And the fourth day, he saw a very different person. And again, he asked that question. Now, this is a very different picture. Now, first 3 days, there were gloomy picture is building up on his mind. Now, again, I want to tell you the things that I already mentioned. So he gathered the information, gathered the data. So he has some knowledge about what is going to happen in the future, but he didn't stop there, right? So he immediately achieved the wisdom as well, meaning he started thinking, okay, I'm now if we were, what we are going to do is we gather this knowledge. Okay, we may think, okay, that's fine. We may become old in the future, but that's fine. That's okay. Oh, we live like that. But what he did was he again further questioned and he want to achieve the wisdom, which means he started thinking, this is not good. This is not good. So he want to find solutions. And then in the last time, when he saw this type of personality, he again questioned, why? Who is this? And then he come up with an hypothesis. Yes, he's a person who is trying to find solutions for this. And then again, he asked Channa, what is he doing? And he gather information from him. And then he might have searched for other people who are doing this. So that's how it is built up. So again and again, he did the research, he gathered data, and then he started getting into some wisdom here. That means he started seeing this dukkha, suffering, the negative side of the life. So he's really, really wanting to further explore this. And not only that, he wants to find solutions for this. That's one of the really big things about a researcher, achieving the wisdom. So in his level, at that point, the biggest wisdom he was thinking was, okay, I need to find solution. If you take this picture, yeah, you are worried, you have problems, but you are seeing some light. So we want to go there and find out a solution for this problem. And that's what he did. So we all know he first started with giving, going through this giving hardship to the body by, let's say, whether I can find solutions for this dukkha or suffering by doing this approach. And again, he did this for 6 years, and that's a big research he has been doing. He questioned everything, and his hypothesis was, okay, I'm giving hardship to the body, so therefore I can finish this dukkha, finish this suffering by doing that. And he had gathered a lot of data over the 6 years. And then when we come to the 6th year, he has a lot of information showing he cannot conclude whether he can finish this dukkha by giving hardship to the body. So he make a decision, he make a conclusion, this is not going to work. So that's what a researcher does. Always go through these steps, gather data, and then come to a conclusion, a very conscious conclusion. So this is another real big moment in his life. Although he started with the hypothesis, again, this is one other thing. When we set up an hypothesis, it is based on whatever the current information we have. But at the end, if we do the research properly, we may find that hypothesis may be wrong. That's really good, really big, because, yeah, we found the real way. So he found giving hardship to the body will not going to do anything about the suffering. So what is the other end? And he know already, he has spent 29 years on the luxurious life, right? So he know that's also not going to work. Again, that's another research, another project, right? So he know that side as well. And then he come to the middle, right? We all know. And even if we take every step, it's a research. So I can talk hours and days about each of these individual moments and bring up these steps as research. For example, when he is thinking about finishing this 6 years hardship, he was offered this milk rice from this Prince Sujata. And then why he accepted that? It was not an accidental. It was not because he was hungry. It's not because it smells good. It is another research, because at that point he was thinking, I cannot find the answer by doing this, giving hardship to the body. So I want to find the solution in a middle way, sitting on somewhere in the middle. To do that, I want to live. So to live, I need to have some food to eat. That's all. That's his research at this point, and he accepted that. So this is how I'm trying to tell you how we can apply this research into our lives every day, every moment. It's a research, okay? So by doing that, actually, so what we all know what he achieved. He got enlightened at the age of 35. And I'm not going to talk about a lot of things in the Buddhist philosophy, because I'm not an expert. You all probably know even better than me. But what he emphasized was to pay attention to investigate internal side of you. So who am I? So that's the biggest question we need to ask according to his teachings. So follow this. Okay, so I will take one set of Buddhist principles, philosophies put forward by him. Actually, these are the very basic things he talk about the world. Now, so according to Buddhism, so it teaches everything is impermanent. It's not permanent. Secondly, it says everything is suffering. So thirdly, it talks about the non-existence, right? No self. So when we hear these things, why don't we do a research and try to properly understand how these things, is this correct? Are these really true? Try to understand. So this is how I reach. This is how I learn Buddhism. Like I said, I'm a researcher, so I always question things. So I question these things. Now, if let's talk about the whether things are impermanent. Now we see all these natural, maybe mountains, and also big buildings, and even the universe, Earth, planets, and then these beautiful people around us. So it looks they are there, right? Why we are saying there's an impermanency here? So that's one big question about this side. And then it says everything is suffering. So how about this? These lovers are really happy there, and there's a very happy family here. There's a happy moment, and this person might have got a promotion, right? So there's a very happy moment, and you become a monk. Very happy thing. So why we say why it says everything is suffering? So question that. So that's how I reach. So and then this is the real hard thing, really, really difficult thing to understand. Non-existence. So it says I am not there. So it is not existing. How come? So I see everything around the world. Now you're looking at a computer and it is there, and then I'm here and I see all these things around. Why still it says it's wrong, it's not existence? So these are the big questions we can ask. So if I stop for a moment, as Buddhists, we know these three principles always. We hear this, and then we think we know about it. But have we really do a research and try to understand this? Probably not. So let's do that. So let's bring these tools that we can do research. Let's go through all these steps and then gather some knowledge and try to get some wisdom here. So impermanence. Now I said these are seems permanent, right? But again, we know very easily the buildings can decay, and these beautiful mountains, the landslide can destroy everything. It's not that difficult to understand. Okay, yeah, there is an impermanent, it's not permanent, so they can change. And then how about these nice people around us? Yeah, that also we say we can understand. Okay, they become older, and then this beauty is not going to be there. Yeah, so these things, yeah, we can understand. That's in the very surface level. The impermanent can be understood that way. But I'm going to bring a picture here. This same beautiful girl is there, and there are two boys around, and one like her, but the other one doesn't like her. Shall we analyze this? Shall we do some research on this situation? Now, this girl, if this girl is existing as a beautiful girl around us, if that is permanent, if it is there, then why two different people seeing this girl in different way? Have you ever asked that question? So this is research, right? That's a very legitimate question to be asked, right? So this one like her, but this one doesn't like her. Why? If this one is, this girl is beautifully existing, it should be beautiful for everyone, right? And so we are going deeper into this situation now. So is that means the question, I mean, if when I do research, that tells me this beautiful girl is not real. If it is real, it should be same for us. We all should see the same way. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. Okay, so there is a question. So that means, yeah, we can understand this impermanency little bit deeper now, right? It's not like just changes, but also the whether we see the things around us, is it real? And it looks, it's because of my view, right? So we are getting somewhere now. everything is suffering. I showed you very nice, beautiful time frames of families and lovers, so the workplace. Now, if I bring these pictures, these lovers can be like this in the very next minute. Their happiness is gone. They might have a problem arise. And this one who got the promotion and now sitting on a very difficult place where he has a lot of things going on, that this happiness, this big, big happiness is now changed. It is not there. And this family is now fighting. We don't know what might have happened, but we all know by experience it's always there. And even monks, right? So when we say just blindly become a monk is really good, really nice, but when monks also live in normal society, they also face a lot of problems. Uh, unless the real focus is really on the Buddhist path, even with that, there are a lot of troubles monks also face. So what does this mean? If we go little by little deeper here, we understand, although there are, if we do research on this, yes, there are good moments, but they are not existing as is forever. So we start getting the suffering. So we are getting now deeper and deeper into this. We understand the impermanence is really a major thing. So, and then everything looks suffering, non-existent. So this is the really difficult one to understand. Okay, if I'm here, if I see around the world, and then I already, I think with research itself, we found things are not permanent. Everything changes. Now, if everything changes, how I can be permanent? That was the way my research I applied. So I asked the question, then bring the hypothesis. If everything is changed, why how can I consider permanent, right? It's not. So if someone looks at me the same way I'm looking outside, that one can see me also in different states, right? So I can be like this, I can be like this, happy moment, sad moments, bad moments, whatever. So I am also changing. So am I permanent? Am I existing? Probably not. So we go deeper and deeper into this. So there are so many different versions of me, right? I mean, I'm taking it in a very easy way to understand. I break it down with loving moments, questioning, sad moments, like that. So in any given moment, I will be in one of those. So that means I'm also not permanent and seems not really existing. So it's actually going through all different states. What happened? I'm going from this state to this state. And then next moment, I'm going to another state and I'm going to another state. So I am actually moving one state to another, one state to another. So this is what happened to me. So that means I am actually not really existing. What happened is, because of the cause and effect, this is what it described in the Buddhism. So we always in a appearing and disappearing state. So that's why it called non-existence. So this is what I find by doing research, starting from a simple levels and going deeper and deeper, and then understand, gathering information, gathering knowledge, and then converting that into wisdom. So this is what we all need to do. So if we think this way, if we go like this, we can understand a lot of things around us in a very deeper way, but in a more proper and even simpler way. We can understand all these principles. So let's say what happened in usually. If someone asks, who am I? So I say, I am I say I'm Gomika Udugamasooriya. I'm a researcher. I'm a husband. I'm a father. It goes like that. So now stop for a moment. Is this correct? Is any of this correct? Can you say that? I don't know. Now, again, let's get back to this research. So when I say I'm a husband or I'm a father, maybe, yeah, this first picture may be correct. Maybe the second one, maybe I'm a researcher, right? So I'm curious. And then I go to this state. So that means, can I define by any of this? So, no, it's actually going through so many different states. So I'm going from this state to this state, this state to this state. So it goes like that. So there's no me at the end, right? So we cannot define. So this is how I understand the non-self or non-existent. And then it actually really, it goes, it's not only changing from like good phase to a bad phase or something like that. Any moment in fraction of seconds, we are changing. It's actually appearing and disappearing. So that's what the real Buddhist philosophy says. So if that is the case, it happens with the cause and effect principle. But my point is actually, so we cannot define us. So if we do this big research about me, we can understand all these Buddhist principles that talk about what is around us, right? So what do we have? We have ever-changing some things around us. So what really happens? What we do is we create I out of this, and then we separate rest of the world. So that is the biggest mistake we do here for the first thing. And then in the rest of the world, we see all these things, the beautiful mountains, the buildings, and we achieve things, and the beautiful people, the happy moments, the attachments, and all those things are around us. Okay, we think that is good, but very next second, we understand this beautiful mountain can be gone, and this beautiful building may fall down. And even though I got the promotion, as soon as when I sit on that big position, I will be stuck with a lot of things. My happiness, my excitement is gone now. So I'm in a different state. Now these are very complex situations I face, and this loving, interesting feeling is gone. Next moment, the families can fall apart, and even monks, until you're really getting into proper path, proper levels, there are a lot of problems appear. So why this happens? Again, as Buddha said, we do something wrong here. I created me and separated from the world. And as soon as I name this as a mountain, a beautiful person, or something, we go against that principle, the impermanence. We actually label someone as permanent. And then we want to attach to that. And immediately we start, and as soon as that nice thing changes, we start getting the dukkha, the suffering, right? And then it's all because of I created me. I think I am here. So if we do all these things as research, like I mentioned, we can start understanding all these things. And then we think, if we get rid of that, if I am also not there, so what do we have? These very basic components in throughout this whatever universe. So there's the Patavi Dhatu, Apo Dhatu, Vayo Dhatu, Tejo, and then the lot of space, and also a Vinya. So if we look at this now, this Patavi Dhatu means that the solidity and density related, the attractive forces are there. Okay. These are the very basic components, and then there are liquidity or relative motion related forces are there. And then the gaseousness, it talks about the pressure or the expansive or repulsive forces around. And then heat energy is there. And then within those basic components, there are lots of, the biggest thing is emptiness. There's space. And also vinyana, so consciousness, the purity of bright part of this this overall thing. So again, I'm not an expert on talking about the Buddhism, but this is how I see this whole picture by doing this research and trying to understand the world, right? But this is not happen usually. What happened is I think I am here, and then I separate the rest of the world and then see all these things around the world and then go against these principles. Now, this is the biggest thing I want to convey here. We think we know this. So as Buddhist, yeah, if someone asks you, do you know what is impermanence? Yes, you will say, oh yeah, of course I know. What is it? Then you will say, if we are born, we are going to be die one day, right? So people say that that's the impermanence. Of course, it happens, but have you really grasped the concept? Now, if that is the birth and dying is the impermanence, then between birth and the death, I have been existed, I have been permanent. That's wrong. So that's not the real impermanence means. So it is about this ever-changing thing we need to understand. So to understand that, we need to question, we need to do research, we need to understand who am I. And then when we go through that process, doing this research in the proper way, we start seeing these beautiful and really meaningful concepts that put forward by Lord Buddha. Actually, all these were found, understood by Prince Siddhartha. So that's why I said, and he didn't have a university to go. He didn't have courses to follow. But what did he do? Exactly like that caveman did when he first find the fire. But Prince Siddhartha was also doing. Whenever he sees something, he questioned that and he put forward proper research procedures. And then he started digging deeper into that and achieve the wisdom, not only gather knowledge, but achieve the wisdom. And then he go to the next level. It goes to the next level. And that's how he found. So my take-home message here is, if we think about research, we always think these are the pictures. Of course, this is research. Yes, this is important. This is there. But if you compare that conventional research into doing research about myself, inner world, the same tools I showed you, the same tools that there are 6 steps I mentioned how to do a research. That's what Prince Siddhartha was doing to understand all these things. And then he showed us the way to go. And all this understanding about these principles, and then to solutions. He has actually put forward all these solutions, and I'm not going to get into any of those. Talking about 4 noble truths and then following the Eightfold Path and doing all these other things, Dana, Sila, Bhavana, the meditations, and all these things we need to bring in as the solutions for this, what we understand here. So I'm not going to touch any of those sides, but what I tried to tell you was, stop for a moment and try to ask this question about your life every moment, every day, every moment, everything. Why? And then do research about you. Okay? By doing that in the very early stages, you start finding out your strengths, your weaknesses, your desires, good and bad behaviors of you, all these things. If you stop and start doing research about you, and then if you also can go further into you and then start understanding more things, and that you can achieve the wisdom. But not only that. So let me summarize everything that I was talking today. So starting from research, we gather the data. So we collect that data, and then we convert that into meaningful data, which is the information. And then we organize that information, and that's called knowledge. And then we apply that knowledge into the real life, which is the wisdom. So it be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then this is about doing research on outside world. But how about doing research about myself? If you do research on myself, you can get into the next final level, which is the enlightenment, which is the clarity of perception. So this is the ultimate thing we can achieve by doing research about myself, and that is what Prince Siddhartha did, and there were no one to tell him. There were no professors or no teachers around him to tell this, and he himself found this, how the world, how the universe work, and then he brought up solutions for that. And for us, actually, everything is there, but all what we need to do is stop for a moment and think about this and try to do research on all this thing day-to-day life, and then you start doing that into yourself, and then you can start getting into these concepts with an understanding and with a knowledge and with an wisdom. So that way you can really getting into this proper path of what Buddha told us to go forward to find the everlasting solution for this suffering or the dukkha. So that is what I want to talk to you today. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for sharing your insights on how science and Buddhism are intertwined. So I will display some of the questions that are from those who have joined today.
So the question is, dear Doctor, what is your opinion on the prajna, the wisdom of the Buddha, the mundane wisdom and the supramundane wisdom of the Buddha told? As scientists, psychologists, and academics gradually find out now how incredible was the knowledge of Buddha 2,600 years ago. Yes, so again, I mean, that's what exactly I was telling. So the prajna. So let me tell you this way. Now, if you again, I'm going to take that the Stone Age picture that I showed you. So if that when that something happens in your day-to-day life, and then if you don't pay attention and don't try to dig deep into that, and you will not improve your prajna, you will not improve your, very simple way of telling is you will not improve your knowledge. And then if you don't even convert that to the wisdom, it will not improve. But again and again, so this I mean, the Prince Siddhartha's effort, that's why I said I'm you saw I'm a Western researcher, Western medical researcher, so my whole life is on that. That's my career. But I can put forward so many names as the most intelligent and great scientists. Of course, there are these researchers in the Western research, then starting from Albert Einstein to all of those, the great minds, the great wisdom they had. But if we think about what Prince Siddhartha did without knowing anything and then gathering this knowledge, I think it's an unbelievably big mind and a big knowledge, big wisdom, I think that is the top of the prajna. And it is definitely, when you think about doing research and start gathering knowledge and moving forward on that path, you start seeing. And again, what I can say is, the other thing is, there's no limit for this, and for this prajna. And I think in Buddhism also it mentioned, we have a beautiful mind, which is the most bright. I think in Sinhalese language it called Prabhashvara Sita, but it is been closed by all these defilements. And but once we open it up, everything boom, and then we can. It's not stopping one place. It increases, improves, and I don't know whether I gave you a very direct answer, but yes, it is non-comparable mind and knowledge and wisdom he had.
And there is another question, but this question is not actually related to the topic, but I'll share it.
Yeah. Okay. The carbohydrate-based food. So the relationship between carbohydrate food to cancer is, so the cancer cells are the cells that grow very abnormally and very rapidly. So for cells to grow, it needs energy. So energy is produced by two things. One is food, which is actually the carbohydrate, sugar, and then it is burned using oxygen. So you need sugar and oxygen to produce energy. So for normal cell, we need certain amount, but in cancer cells, since it is very rapidly growing, it needs much more sugar. So the relationship here is, if we eat a lot of sugar, meaning with a lot of carbohydrate, it actually feeds cancer. So that means, like, if we have a lot of carbohydrate, that's actually not good for the cancer. And on diabetics also the same thing. It is about how our body, I mean, when we eat, the carbohydrate is being broken down to sugars, and then it gets into the blood. So that's the transport part of it, and then we need to really rapidly remove it from the blood and store it. So that is done by enzyme insulin, and when that is not functioning well, we get the diabetic situation. So if we have very rapid influx of carbohydrate into the blood very rapidly, it actually also worsen the situation. So if we give carbohydrate in a way that it can tolerate this situation where the insulin malfunction, that's good. So in both cases, there is a link, but if we reduce and put it in the correct way, it can be helpful.
Okay, thank you, Professor, for answering those questions for us. So now we have come to the end of today's session. So before we end tonight's program, on behalf of the committee and monks of the Buddhist Mahavihara, I would like to thank Professor Gomika Udugamasooriya for taking time from his busy schedule to join us. And I would also like to thank today's sponsors and everyone, those who have joined us this evening. Thank you. Sukhi Hotu.
Sukhi Hotu. Thank you.